Hello, my name is Kirill Chepizhko. I'm a 3D artist, and in this video we're going to be talking about custom environments, HDRI editor, and how powerful it is. The key to success of every render is full control over your lighting, and KeyShot has lots of standard HDRIs, and you can find them in this tab for interiors, outdoors, studio lighting, and the like. But what we need is more control, and not only more control over the HDRI, but just over the full lighting of the scene. So I'm going to show you a couple of methods to adjust the lighting and create a custom HDRI. For this, as you can see right now, this is a default material, just a diffuse, all white, and the environment is all white. This is also useful when you're doing a render if you want to render an AO pass, ambient occlusion. But to start, we just need to drag and drop an environment, and I'm gonna go with my favorite one, this guy right here. And then we're also gonna drop a different material to see the change better. So let's just go ahead with shiny plastic. The environment settings have a bunch of different controls. You can control the brightness of the HDRI, the contrast, its size, which is sometimes useful to adjust, height, and you can also rotate it around to get the right type of highlights that you're looking for. And for the background, we're just going to change the background to something like dark gray, so that we see the change a little better. So besides that, and again, every HDRI is of course different, and it creates different lighting scenarios, anywhere from these to studios, and sometimes it's just not enough. Sometimes you need a little more control. So in this case, we need to create some custom highlights to highlight the geometry in places where we need the light to pop off the geometry. So the best way to do that is create a pin, and if you don't see the light of the pin right away, you can give it some different color, so you can see, let's just make it blue, so you can see where it's hitting exactly, and you can just click the pin and drag it around here. But a much better way would be, if you're not in this mode already, you can just click this target button and then pick a face that's supposed to be highlighted by that specific pin. And if you're still not seeing it, bring up the brightness and maybe the radius. And usually it takes a couple of pins like that to get it just right. You can also, and this is like adding pins to existing HDRI. For example, we're going to have this blue highlight from one end and maybe a red highlight from the other end, like this. But we can also add pins that are images. So what we need is click the add image pin and just select the image we're looking for. And usually it's not going to be obvious right away, so we're just going to bring up the brightness or the contrast to see the image and change the blend mode to alpha. It's not adding much, it's adding just some color information to an existing HDRI, But if we were adding this to an HDRI that's, for example, completely black, and then we add the same pin, you can see that it's giving us all that color information. We can scale it and basically use that image to light the scene. That's sometimes useful when you don't exactly have the HDRI that you're looking for. And then you can also click the HDRI editor, click the HDRI editor canvas button, and you can click this to generate full resolution HDRI, and then continue playing with the pins. And if you were adding more pins, you can eventually save out this HDRI as your own, so you don't have to redo this every time. And then an additional way to create more light in the scene, if HDRI is not cutting it for you, is going to be adding new geometry. So for example, it could be a cube. In this case, it doesn't really matter because what we're going to do is add an IES light. So we're going to bring in this cube, keep it here, right click, edit material, change the type of material to IES light, and you can see the geometry didn't really matter because the IES light already contains that information. So we can drop the multiplier, adjust the color, and then adjust the radius, and then also move the geometry away from the watch like this. And you can see if I turn off the HDRI completely, make it dark, you can see this is the key light or fill light, whichever you want it to be, and you totally have control over the direction of that light as well as the intensity. And additionally, combining the IES lights with the HDRIs is a way to create the right directional shadows, which you will not be able to get out of just the HDRI. So that's definitely something that we need to do, combining both HDRI and IES light. And let's just bring back the other one, this guy right here. The other trick I wanted to show you also has to do with pins, but for this we will need to bring back the glass material right here. We're just gonna unlink the material, edit, assign glass, make it refractive. So I'm gonna just try and catch this light on the glass, because sometimes you end up in a scenario where you're trying to render the glass right here, but it's catching these in this case it's catching this reflection from the chandelier from the HDRI, and this is where blend modes in the pins come in handy. So what we need to do is create a new pin. We're gonna make it black, and we're gonna change the color mode to alpha, and we're just gonna literally go ahead and cover the light right here. So this way we still get all the, and we can just slightly make an adjustment so that we do get those highlights and then get rid of the necessary ones. so that we will be able to see what's happening, because I do want some of that reflection and refraction in there, but I definitely don't want it to be hiding the geometry behind the glass. And you can also play with the fall off to make it slightly more real, and the radius as well. Overall, I highly recommend getting yourself familiar with every HDRI here, and as well as importing. I always encourage importing your own custom HDRIs, something you have downloaded. But in the end, lighting is what's making the image really. So you need to get that full control either through the pins or the IES lights, or that just one right HDRI that you found. And the final look of the image will heavily depend on this balance and finding the right balance between adjusting the colors of the shaders or textures, playing with the HDRI and lighting, going back and forth, and finally using the photographic color correction on top of that much later when you're already done with everything. So this should be it for custom environments and adjusting them. And now we'll take the swatch and start assigning the shaders.